I'd just like to thank everybody for coming in today to listen to our presentation on Room Alert from Avtech. For temperature control, humidity and power monitoring throughout buildings and other rooms. This is on the back of other successful webinars that we've been producing over the past 2 or 3 weeks, and hopefully you'll enjoy what was coming up. So over to you, Michael, to take your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for being here. On behalf of Atlasworld and Avtech Software, I'd like to thank you for being here, and I hope that you're all safely isolating, protecting yourself, your families, and others. Before I begin today, I want to ask you a real simple question. You won't be able, or I won't be able to hear you, but I'm going to assume the answer. I want to ask you whether or not you work for a business, or you drive a car, or you own a home without insurance. The obvious answer is you probably don't, okay? The pandemic that we're actually experiencing right now is a devastating example of a real world need to protect ourselves against the unexpected. Avtech focuses on helping people prepare for the unexpected in terms of environmental conditions. And disasters, we find, are almost always unexpected and unseen. The rule of life is that we as managers, as adults, need to learn, avoid repeating, and try to protect our future. My slideshow is actually based on an article I wrote about 20 years ago, and it still reads true today. So let's go ahead and get started. It's common for all of us to be complacent and relaxed when things are going okay. It's normal, it's natural, and there's really no shame in that. However, as managers, like I said, we do have the responsibility and the opportunity to do better. For the sake of being brief, my slideshow today is actually going to focus more on IT. IT is a sweet spot for us. It's an instant cost justification, and everybody depends on IT. So I think you can all relate to the message that I'm going to try to share today. However, the reality is the story about environment monitoring and its value applies to all types of industries. So whether you're in hospitality, education, healthcare, warehousing, defense, government, pharma, whatever, the things that I'm going to talk about today can apply to this particular need. All right. So let's just think about what we're doing right now. So we're all dependent on this presentation. You've joined because you obviously feel that you have a need for a product like this. So you're being kind enough to consider our presentation today. But the reality is, if the server just crashed, we're going to immediately ask ourselves a variety of questions, right? So you're going to waste a few minutes hoping that we come up back online. We're going to scramble to do it, but if we can't come back online, you're going to move on. It's going to be opportunity lost. And that's really a mini version of what life and business is all about. We're going to be asking ourselves, where's the server? Who can get to it? Is there somebody there now? Is it damaged that's going to require a hardware replacement? How much is that going to cost? Will the parts be available? And so there's going to be a mini freak out, you might say, if not for corporate management, at least for the IT manager, because people are going to start calling and they're going to start worrying about it. So the reality is that disasters disrupt everything as we try to focus on, stopping whatever the problem is, cleaning up the mess, and getting back to normal. So about 27 to 30% of all the downtime based on studies is caused by environmental concerns that go bad. So you say, okay, great. That's nice, Michael. So what is environment monitoring? Let's try to personalize it. It's easy to think about ourselves, and oftentimes we don't think enough about keeping the business going, even though it's our job. So if you think about yourself or your home, for example, what happens when you lose heat in the winter? What happens when you lose your cooling in the summer? If you have a plumbing leak, do you have a major flood? How does that impact the structure? All the things you have stored in your basement or whatever floor it floods on. If it floods on the top floor, it goes all the way to the bottom. Gravity's, a great aid to flood. What about a fire? What about a break-in? So the reality is you have to ask yourself, do I leave my back door open for intruders? The answer is obvious. No, you don't. But when you think about your computer room and data center, it's a very expensive and perhaps a life and death situation. For 30 years now, Avtech has looked at research from a variety of concerns. And the primary causes always tend to be temperature, number one, period. And temperature changes foot by foot, both in your data center and in any type of environment. The same with a kitchen if you're a restaurant. If you're a pharmaceutical department within a hospital, you need to monitor stuff, and you've got coolers, and if your AC goes down, the potency of the drugs can be diminished and therefore less effective, and people can die. Expensive equipment is just like us as people. So if we're in the desert, we overheat. If we're in the Arctic, we get cold. Expensive equipment and machines operate the same way. They run less effectively. Power and humidity are always number two in some order. Sometimes people mix it up. And that's followed by water leakage and flood. And then basically smoke and fire is always right next to it. Now, research says that you're 10 times more likely to experience flooding than you ever are to have a fire. Atlas is expert at providing solutions to prevent and resolve fire and smoke concerns. So this is a great opportunity. And at the end of the presentation, I'm going to make you a special offer related to flood. So there are other concerns, of course, but these I think are the core influencers. I've used this particular graph for many years now. And just as people are unique, all businesses are unique as well. Every facility is different. So there's no one package solution for every organization. When you look at computer rooms, telecom closets, data centers, even the PC under your desk, cooling and power problems continue to have the greatest impact. One of the things that people are always surprised about is, I heard a fact from Intel probably 5 years ago, and they still say that it's true, even though processors have gotten stronger. But Intel says that for every 8 degrees Fahrenheit above 68, your processor loses 50% of its processing capacity, the speed, okay? So poor performance is not always a network issue. Have you ever seen a laptop, you work at home, you put it on your lap and it starts to overheat and kind of slows down? Maybe we don't notice it because we're getting tired ourselves at night, I don't know. But I have heard stories before of people that have desktop systems on their floor at home, and then they've got a big fluffy cat that comes and sits right up next to it and it blocks the air intake and it starts to overheat. So when you talk about a larger facility, it's the same kind of issue. Let's flip. Don't let me forget to flip some slides here. All right. So as you can tell, I'm not talking and I'm trying not to read the slides so that you can look at the slides, and I'll try to add additional comments around it. As I said earlier, downtime is heavily impacted by environmental concerns. Does everybody here know who Gartner and Forrester are? So Gartner and Forrester are the top 2 technology analysts worldwide. And they're the guys that, or the people that send out huge studies that cost $12,000 to $20,000. So they do a deep dive into different types of industries to try and help us as managers make better decisions. So Gartner and Forrester found, and this is over and over and over, that most companies today have network and cybersecurity already addressed. They already have physical security already addressed. However, fewer than 25% have anything for environment monitoring. Most people have completely, absolutely nothing. So the thermostat on your wall from Honeywell does not represent a monitoring solution that's going to inform you when you have a problem, okay? So as managers, I hope that you can see that this is an opportunity to protect your business. So it's kind of like securing the front door and the windows of your home at night, and then you go to bed and leave the back door open. The bottom line is, if you were to not address environment monitoring, it's kind of like being in a boat with a hole in it. Eventually you're going to sink. And it's very easy to become complacent, as we talked about. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. So this is what business continuity is really all about. You must monitor in order to know. And this is why when you go out with your spouse on date night, you hire a babysitter. You want somebody responsible looking over things. This is why we test during the virus, because knowing is step 1 in an effort to prevent and respond. Our statistics come from a variety of sources over the years, and this includes obviously Gartner and Forrester, who are highly respected, as I said, but also other organizations and articles in Computer World, the US Bureau of Statistics, Uptime Institute, Forbes, Washington Post, all kinds of publications. And I see no statistical change over the last 20 years. However, There are proven solutions nowadays that we did not have 10, 20 years ago. And Room Alert is an example of that because it gives you power and insight. Now, as a note, I'm not really giving you a big product push here. I'm really focusing on trying to show you the threat of what's happening. If you don't buy Room Alert, buy something. Don't leave your business vulnerable. So Gartner says that downtime costs the average business $5,600 per minute. Now, you and I know the cost will vary depending upon the type of organization that you have, and they're probably gathering data from large industries as well as small businesses. But it really doesn't matter because when it's your money, it's expensive. So when you consider that our most expensive product, the Room Alert 32S, is only $1,295, if you do the math, you're basically cost justifying that product in 15 seconds of saved downtime. Now, you might be saying, oh, come on, man, because you can't really see saved downtime. You're focused on running consistently. But if you had a problem and it's automatically addressed because we noticed it, ran an automatic script and rebooted something or an application or rebooted your cable modem, and you didn't know, then you can continue running. If you look at business continuity, it's really the new buzz term. The bottom line after all the sound bites is that you need to look ahead as much as possible. You need to know right away when a problem happens. Don't count on luck. Too many people play Russian roulette with their IT facilities. And it's an easy situation because management is always trying to conserve money. This is an investment in protecting your operation, right? So you might say, well, why do people delay environment monitoring? The reality is that we're all distracted by the day-to-day, the glitz of the reality show that we call life. It's easy to become complacent. Where we're at, a lot of times when we try to sell to South America, we call that the mañana strategy. You know, if it didn't burn me too bad, maybe I can get by. But the reality is you hold people's jobs and the productivity of your company in your hands. It's a responsibility you shouldn't take lightly. Let's take a look at coming up with a game plan. Now, I'm not going to read these slides, but if you print one slide out of the presentation, which Atlasworld will be able to provide to you, what I would say is have it be this one. It's a very simple roadmap that allows you to get started. Side note, Avtech just this week released and put online a business continuity checklist. This is a very simple and very basic, small number of pages document that you can use to read through and evaluate your own readiness to see whether or not you have already addressed certain concerns or where there are opportunities to improve your program. So this will be made available free as well, and Stephen and the team will be able to provide that to you. So just like putting a raincoat out before you go outside or putting a seatbelt on before a car, you hop in a car or you look in the pool to see how deep it is before you dive in head first, we as business managers need to know about developing threats. And that's really the whole core concept of what Avtech does. And I'll tell you a little bit about us when we get to the end. I don't think you'd be here if your business wasn't at risk. And as I mentioned earlier, this is one of my favorite lines. Any loss is too much when it's your money. So if you're like Avtech, we support hundreds and hundreds of customers around the world in 186 of 196 countries. We have to be on all the time. Our cloud services spread across AWS and Rackspace. We expect them to be up all the time. The only way to do that is to be looking ahead at the things that influence your downtime and avoiding those things. So let's skip this. Let's go to a little bit of contact information about us. I'll just talk a minute about who we are. So Avtech is a 32-year-old company that specializes in the manufacturing of devices called monitors and sensors that are used to provide IT and facilities managers with automated solutions to monitor changing conditions so that you can be alerted immediately, monitor those, do trending, create logs, map situations, basically protect your business. We've been doing this a long time. Our customers include every single branch and department of the US government, all 50 states, every provincial government in Canada, 90% of the Fortune 1000, yada, yada, yada. we expect that every person on this webinar probably comes into contact with one of our customers in some way or another every 15 seconds of your life. So whether you're paying taxes to the UK, whether using health services, using postage, buying products through Amazon, whatever it is. So we're a very small part of the world, and we're proud to be that part. So I hope you'll take a look at us.
Michael, just a moment, if you don't mind. We wanted to remind and make everybody aware that there is a Q&A function of this webinar. So if you do wish to ask questions, you'll be able to in the question and answer. And if Michael doesn't personally answer them, or myself, we'll make sure to follow up and get you the information you need. But Michael, back to you. They can see your video as well. I know there was some concern about that. So they are seeing your video.
Great.
Back to you, Michael.
Guys. Well, I'm glad. Thank you, John, for bringing that up. I basically have 4 different screens and a few notes in front of me, so my head's probably bebopping around. Hope it was animated for you. Again, I'm going to talk a little bit about some resources that we're going to provide to the team at Atlas, and they're a super group of people. You may already work with them, and if so, you already know this, but they'll be able to provide you with a catalog of our products, have a conversation. We're going to make sure that they have a link to our business continuity checklist. We also have a special offer. So for all of you who attended today, here's the offer. If you purchase any one of our Room Alert 12 or 32 models, these are the larger end, but they start at like $500 and go up to basically $1,300, okay? Buy any one of those, and I'm going to give you a free flood sensor. So this is a significant value worth a little over $300, and there's no quantity limit. So if you have a need, boom, this is a great time to invest. The only way you're going to get something better is if Amazon delivers something to your door and you don't tell anybody and you keep it. So that's important. I'd like to, since you can see the video, show you a couple of things. And this is my isolation office up in my lodge in New Hampshire. So this is our Room Alert 32E. This used to be the best model that we had for many years. Has a high capacity. You can see there's different ports on the front for digital sensors connect to your network, some light towers and relay ports. And then on the back, you have a whole bunch of switch sensor ports. And then this is great. I'm doing this backwards. I'm not doing too bad. You can actually connect analog sensors and relays. And then there are expansion stuff as well. Whenever you buy a Room Alert product, not only do you get the hardware that you're looking at, but you also get software that runs on your network, a web browser interface to the hardware, full SNMP compatibility. So if you're using any third-party network monitoring application, it's instantly compatible. And you get access to Room Alert Account, which is our online service. Some people call it a cloud service. Our marketing team would prefer I not. The reality is, it's the most phenomenal way to interface with our products. It's extremely fast, very powerful, and it can monitor all Room Alert units anywhere in the world, whether they're on the same network or not. And so you have a huge amount of capability. The other thing with Avtech products is they almost never fail. You pretty much have to put them underwater, overpower it, or beat it up in order for it to break. So as a result of that, we have organizations like Amazon who has standardized on our products since 2007. So with thousands and thousands of units, they've never had a unit that needed to be replaced. That's a powerful thing, and we have a worldwide agreement for that. So anything you buy through a major warehouse on Amazon is protected by our products, and that includes our people as well. We have smaller mid-sized models. This is a Room Alert 12 that is not in the enclosure. So there is a rack mount bracket that basically, put this in a 19-inch rack. It's a very small mid-sized unit with a lot of power and capacity. And then we have really popular, the Room Alert 3. And this particular product is extremely tiny, and it's available in a Wi-Fi model as well. On one end, you've got the power adapter, even though it's PoE, and then a network connection. And then on the other side, you can basically connect what we call a digital sensor and also a switch sensor. So a digital sensor is one that provides real-time values like temperatures constantly or humidity that is changing, outdoor temp, heat index, things like that. The switch port is anything that's on or off, open or closed, make or break. So that means that anything that you already have in your environment, you might have a large piece of equipment, a manufacturing environment. You might be a restaurant. You've got a big expensive cooler that has dry contact outputs. You can instantly connect it to this device, which only sells for $185 US. The Wi-Fi one is only $165, and instantly take advantage of all the monitoring capabilities for our product. What's also very important is that the Room Alert account that we give you never expires. So you have full access to downloading updates to firmware forever. What does change is you have the ability to upgrade the service for higher capacity of units, greater numbers of users, longer storage of data. So if you need to monitor the data because you're a regulated health organization and you need to keep 3 years of data, we can do that. And then it's always available. You can export it anytime. The other thing is our support never expires. So when you buy one of our products, you're always available to get tech support, and you can upgrade to phone support as part of the service. Does anybody have any questions? I see a couple there. Belinda,
yes, Michael, I can ask a question for you, or I'll ask the question to you that a couple people asked, if that works for you.
Do it.
All right, great. So what locations within a building are suitable for Room Alert?
Okay, well, the data center is the most obvious one because everybody in the organization depends on the network, being able to get email, being able to have access to the database. Obviously, you're not in business if you're not collecting revenue and sending out invoices. So the data center, the computer room, or anything that supports your IT infrastructure is critical. The other part of the house is, we always say there's 3 doors into an opportunity. There's the IT situation, then you have security. So Atlas is involved with security, but security is more than locking a door and more than having a camera that takes pictures. So we can connect directly to switch sensors that are built into cameras. That's important. We can also capture snapshots. We can send you an alert based on movement that automatically includes the link. So if you're out to dinner, you don't have to scramble and go somewhere. You just click on the link inside your alert text and you're instantly watching live video. And then you can call, hey, Fred, we've got a break-in in warehouse number 5. Go to the back door and check it out or whatever. So that's important. The other opportunity is facilities. So the facilities manager is, or the team, is very important in supporting all aspects of the organization as well. Let's think about a school, okay? Let's say you're in education. So you need to monitor the coolers to make sure the food that you serve children is safe, properly stored. You need to monitor the temperature and the heat index. This is what affects a student's ability to learn. So if they're fatigued and falling asleep in class, the opportunity for them to learn is diminished dramatically. Education of our young people is critical. You need to monitor doors. It's amazing, children don't go out the main door. Sometimes they find that back door. So you need to know if a door is left open or ajar. You need to know that you have proper airflow from your HVAC systems. And it used to be that the IT department and the facilities team hit heads, but now more and more they're working together because a lot of opportunities exist to have tools like ours on the network. So if they're not working together, it's a problem. So the IT department depends on proper facilities environment conditions, and the facilities team depends on the network to help plug those different devices in and get the information. So it's a partnership. That's just a small example of some opportunities. John, what's your next question?
Sure. We had a question regarding where these Room Alert monitors could be used throughout a warehouse to control temperature and humidity, or is it only for like specific sized rooms?
Okay, so I'll use Amazon as an example because they have probably the best implementation, but there's a lot of fun facts about warehousing for us. Like we monitor all the Nutella in the world. We monitor pharmaceuticals from GlaxoSmithKline, a lot of different fun things. So a lot of times what they'll do is if they're transporting food, they want to monitor the temperature inside and outside of coolers. If they're monitoring the workspaces where employees are working, they want to monitor what's called the heat index. The heat index is a mathematical formula between the temperature and the humidity that creates what's called the feels like temperature. So this is where when people get fatigued, they have accidents, they fall off ladders, they drive forklifts into posts, they drop products, they faint, they get sick. It affects not only their immediate ability to work, but it affects their immune system. So the long-term health of your employees is at risk as well. This is the key thing that Amazon wanted to address. So they have sensors that are positioned within 10 to 20 feet of where every people work within the warehouse. They also are monitoring switch rooms, telecom closets, little cabinets, entry points, backup sensors to track their security systems. So this is an interesting concept. So all of us, like in the United States, I don't know if you have the same service over there, but we have a service called ADT. And it's a nice company. You know, they have residential monitors that monitor security. But if an event goes off, people that make minimum wage in Texas are the ones that call you and tell you you have a problem. So our products go direct. We have professional level products where you control the alerting. Depending upon some other person to have the latest number to reach you is a tough strategy in a business environment. But there are products that you buy, that you implement, that already have some monitoring in it. Our products are a very inexpensive way to track and monitor the success of those. In other words, if I put in a $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 HVAC system, and they say, oh, if it has a problem, it alerts you, but the installer doesn't connect it right, what's the value of that extra tool? When you can monitor the airflow for less than $50, when you can monitor the temperature or the humidity or the heat index for less than $100. Those are inexpensive sensors that anybody can install. John, next question.
Great. Now, do these sensors need to be powered?
Good question. So the reality is most of them, no. So the digital sensors draw power directly from the room alert unit. And so they use a 3-wire system where a small amount of power is fed from the room alert device. And we're looking to see how that power signal changes. And then we're interpreting that. So it has a computer chip in the sensor, and the values are stored in the room alert unit and then picked up by either the monitoring software or the cloud service. So if it's a switch sensor, like a smoke sensor or a flood sensor, most of the time you do not need other power. If it does need power, it comes with an adapter. So all the Avtech products are designed to be very low voltage, very low consumption of power. So they all work on a very high standard quality 5-volt power adapter. So if you buy our products, only use ours. If you're back behind a rack, don't reach down and grab anything with a barrel connector and just plug it in. If you plug in a 24-volt thing from Netgear or something, you're going to fry the unit. And so hopefully that answers that question.
Great. We have another one from Greg. What involvement is required from our IT department to set this up?
Great question. The installation of Room Alert is very easy. So about 5 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, we wanted to prove that. So we sent one home with every single person in our company. Now at the time, I think that was only 35 people. We're not a huge company in terms of people, but we're huge in terms of our reach. Every single person had it installed within 24 to 48 hours. And the ones that took longer, basically, it's because they got busy. They had kids and things like that. I always tease people that my mom, who's now about 81, has installed this unit. It's like the old phone systems. You take the network cable that comes with it, you plug it in the front to the network jack. In the Room Alert unit, you plug it into your network, it's already there. You then go to roomalert.com and you enter your email address, and that unit, when you bought it, was scanned and connected directly to your email address or somebody on your staff. So you instantly have access, and then you basically just follow some very simple procedures. You add contacts. These are people you want to contact by phone or email or text or what have you. And then you basically add monitored objects. I want to monitor a temperature sensor. I'm going to call it comms room 1, and I want to know then the threshold. Tell me when it goes above 68. Tell me when it hits 70. Do this. And you go click, 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 and it's set up. And that's it. So it's very easy to install. Probably the toughest decision that you're going to make is, where do I put the sensors? Keep in mind, especially that because temperature is the most important for many organizations, that temperature changes foot by foot. So you see this easily when you're in a data center. You see this easily when you're in a restaurant kitchen. You put it where you want to monitor. Okay, if you put it on the left side of the room and it's 200 feet to the other side, you're not going to get a value. So a thermostat is based on positioning and knowing how the air is at that point, not where it is everywhere. Humidity is a little different because in an average room, humidity basically is fairly consistent due to airflow across the room. Temperature is not. And that's why we have a lot of ports on the front of the unit for temperature. But again, our price range, you can start small, at less than $200, or you can go up to the $1,300 model. And think of that kind of like a car. If you drive a sports car, maybe it's a 2-seater. Okay, that's great. That's the Room Alert 3 line. Then we've got our midsize. Think of these like station wagons or family cars. And then we've got the school bus. So you get a lower cost per unit when you buy a bigger unit. You get a lot more power, more capabilities. So put that into your decision making, and then think about your monitoring. So if you have a really large facility with a lot of opportunities, you're not going to buy a $1,200 unit and put it all over the place. So you're going to take something like the Room Alert 3, which is very small, can fit in almost any type of environment. Now, you can see how big it is compared to my iPhone. So it's about twice as thick as an iPhone, and it's a lot smaller. So it's very easy to mount these things. Comes with teardrop holes, comes with screws. All of our units have a built-in temperature sensor, so that's one monitoring point right there. And then you run the cables to where you want. So if you want it to be on the front of your rack where air comes in on the bottom, great. If you want to have it on the back so you can see what temperature it is when it leaves your rack, that's great. You'll hear different types of recommendations for monitoring temperature. ASHRAE will tell you that you should monitor at 3 points. People don't really do that, it's too expensive, but they will monitor at 2 points. And so you can see the difference between the two temperatures, and that tells you the output of your temperature in terms of how it's being influenced by the devices that are inside there. John, have you got another question real quick?
Yeah, sure. Is Room Alert able to toggle other pieces of equipment on or off, or perhaps trigger some sort of relay?
Got it. So there's a couple of things here. Yes, we can. So basically any sensor that is connected to Room Alert can control a relay on any other Room Alert if it's on the same network, or from the same Room Alert box if it's in, if it's standalone kind of thing. So we can turn on HVAC systems, sump pumps, change security doors, turn a bolt lock on. So anything that can be influenced by a small signal. So a lot of big expensive HVAC systems have relays in them. So we can monitor those, and then we can change the state if that relay is set up to do that. Now we have a couple additional products that are sidecar products called iBoot. So one of the iBoot products will allow you to turn on any powered device connected to a Room Alert. So that means you can recycle a fan, turn on a backup air conditioner. In fact, I'll try to tell the story really quick. Our business is based in a, you see it on the page. In fact, I want to get off that screen and show you the next screen. But see the mill on my slideshow there? We bought that 11 years ago, and it's a 150-year-old brick mill, 68,000 square feet for our now 45 people. And we don't air condition the data center. Data center's on the second floor. What we're doing is we're pulling cool air up from a crawl space underneath the mill, which is extremely consistent, through a shaft, and we use Room Alert to open vents on the side of the wall, which went through a window. And so we're monitoring the temperatures, we're pulling air when it's needed from underneath. So as a result, Room Alert then only turns on a backup air conditioner maybe 6 to 10 days a year. So our power consumption is extremely low. Most people don't have that opportunity, but it's very creative. That's the slide I wanted to sit on so that you know and can make sure that you have Stephen's contact information. One of the other things I want to mention too is our products allow you to have hierarchies, contact different people at different times for different things. Obviously, you can set up groups. You have the ability to schedule monitoring. So you can say, okay, I want to know if that happens, but only if it exists that way for 10 minutes. So you have a lot of flexibility. So do we have any other questions? Otherwise, I think I've probably overtalked my time.
We have one more quick one. Is the network system normally user programmable? I think you just sort of touched on this, like their example, input 1 triggers output 5. So I believe referring to if you get an alert, can it go to multiple recipients?
Yes, so you can do automatic corrective actions if you're using our software on the network, which means you can run any VBScript, JavaScript, or task object. You can alert any individual or different people. You can alert them via different methods. So you could send a text to John. Maybe you want to have a GSM modem and call somebody in the middle of South Africa that doesn't have network connection, and then you can email and text a whole bunch of other people. So you have a lot of flexibility, and you don't have to do that all at the same time. So you can have early people that you notify, and then if they don't respond, you can contact the next team. You can set up schedules so that maybe during the work hours, Fred is available. Maybe in the evening, Susan is on call. Maybe on the weekend, Janet is the response person. So you can break that stuff up and divide the responsibility. And that really leads to me to a closing thought. The core concept of our product is to protect organizations and individuals. What we really do, though, is we add peace of mind. So I don't know if you can relate to this, but a lot of times years ago, when my phone would ring after hours, my wife would give me what I call the evil eye, okay? Because she would know that something went wrong and I'm gonna have to go to the office. You may want the ability to really just relax at night. And if you're a manager, you want your staff to do the same thing. They don't come into your door and say, you know, I'm really stressed out because every time this piece of hardware goes flaky, I get 10 or 20 calls. And when I walk to the office, everybody's standing at the door ready to give me a hard time. The IT and facilities managers in most organizations are some of the most overworked, especially when there's a crisis. So think of Room Alert as a tool that can give them peace of mind, better control, give you the information you need. You can log and track the data, and basically business can continue. So with that, I'm going to say thank you very much, and I'm going to end it. Again, I'm going to provide a variety of things to the Atlasworld team. They're a super group of people. I hope that you will continue to work with them and consider our product. But if you don't consider Room Alert, make sure that you protect yourself. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much, Michael. Really appreciate the information and the excellent product that you produced there. It's really it should be useful to many a building out in the marketplace there. So hopefully everybody who's seen it today will find a use for it. Just to mention that we're doing another webinar 2 o'clock next Wednesday again. We'll be on energy metering and monitoring by our own Ian Campbell. And also just following our presentation today, we're also going to have a wee feedback form that if you don't mind taking the time to fill that in, I'd really appreciate it. And thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you again next week. Bye now.
Thank you, everybody.